invite on the dais our guest of honor for this event, the Honorable Vice Chancellor of Arunachal University of Studies, Namsai, Professor B. Mohan Kumar. Request Dr. Sinha to escort him to the dais.
He has not arrived.
We would like to invite on the dais our guest of honor for this event, Honorable Vice Chancellor of Arunachal University of Studies, Namsai, Professor B. Mohan Kumar. We request Dr. Sinha to escort him to the dais. With equal pleasure, we would also like to invite the Chairman of the National Organizing Committee and Chairman IFSA, Dr. Prashanta Goswami, accompanied by the Honorable Vice Chancellor of the Assam Kaziranga University, Dr. P.K. Mishra, sir, to join the esteemed dignitaries on the dais.
We request the dignitaries on the dais to please proceed to the lighting of the traditional oil lamp. It is customary in Assam that when we commence any auspicious occasion, we deserve the divine blessing of the unseen, the Almighty, and this lighting of the oil lamp shall be the testimony in ushering in us the positive vibe and energy. So please.
We cordially request Dr. P.K. Mishra, Honorable Vice Chancellor of the Assam University, to felicitate the dignitaries on the dais and present them mementos as a token of appreciation. We would like to felicitate our chief guest, Dr. S. Ayappan, Dr. B. Mohan Kumar, and Chairman National Organizing Committee, NESID 2022, Dr. Prashanta Goswami. And our guest of honor, Dr. G.N. Sastry.
Thank you, sir, for doing the honor. We would also like to officially inaugurate the souvenir related to by the esteemed dignitaries on the dais. We thank all the distinguished and esteemed dignitaries on the dais for doing this honor to inaugurate official inauguration of the souvenir NESID 2022.
Indeed, we are excited to note that NESID 2022 is attended by renowned representatives from and organizations. So, with such a diverse and dynamic representation, we can't wait to kickstart formally this 3-day learning opportunities in this fantastic forum.
Gentlemen, we have someone very special to formally welcome the gathering. And we also thank for giving us the gift of your presence to invite the Honorable Vice Chancellor of the Assam Kaziranga University, Dr. P.K. Mishra, to welcome the august gathering. So please.
Very good afternoon to everybody. The chief guest of the occasion, Professor Ayappan, guest of honor, Dr. Mohan Kumar, Dr. Sastry, the distinguished lead speakers to this event, and the distinguished invited speakers who have come from all over India to be part of this very focused and important event, National Conference on Northeast Sustainable and Inclusive Development. To welcome all of you to this event and be part of the Kaziranga University family. As a brief introduction, I may mention that Kaziranga University is a CSR project of a very prestigious corporate house from Northeast, the Ketan Group. The Ketan Group started their business from this city, Jorhat, 60 years before, and they are one of the largest and most prestigious business house in not only Assam but in the Northeast. The vision of the founder and the present chancellor of the university, Mr. M.D. Khetan, was to give back to the society in the form of education. And he was very particular that since he has grown from this soil, the city of Jorhat, it will be his aspiration, ambition, whatever we may call, that he was interested to establish a university or an educational institute of quality, which will not only provide education or employment to the youth of the Northeast, but in the long run be a center of socio-economic development region and for the country. We have just completed 10 years of our existence. We started in 2012, and I was fortunate to be part of this university system from the day of its inception, from 2008. If you compare the higher education, specifically professional higher education scenario in the country today, Northeast and Assam, it is definitely today lagging behind in providing the right kind of opportunities to a large number of aspiring students who are otherwise not getting an opportunity because of the huge gap in demand and supply. Even today, I believe more than 15,000 students are going out of Northeast to pursue higher education in places like Chennai, Bangalore, Ludhiana, Chandigarh, and all over the country. The adjoining states like West Bengal and Odisha, I come from Odisha, they have advanced in a big way to provide professional education to the students of not only Odisha and West Bengal, but also to the students of adjoining states. I at times wonder why, with so much beauty and so many talented professionals available in the Northeast has not been able to establish institutes or universities of quality, specifically in the private sector, to cater to the demand of aspiring youths. Friends, with all mixed reaction to the private education system, there is no harm in claiming that private professional education system contributes almost 70% in the professional education scenario in this country. For a large country like India, it's not easy to provide opportunity to all the talented people in public or government institutes. Within those private education establishments, there are examples of few corporate-driven educational institutes which are coming up as not only providing high-quality technical education, but also high-quality research, and in turn making themselves, as I told, center of excellence in overall development of the region. When I made this statement, socio-economic development, I'm just not making this statement for the sake of making the statement. I personally believe, with my experience of being associated with professional higher education systems, specifically in the private sector for more than 25 years, there is no better way of contributing to the society than a university or an educational institute. I repeat again, the educational institute centers from where you get your degree, but they impact directly and indirectly socio-economic ecosystem of the nation in a big. With that objective in mind, I was fortunate to get a friend, philosopher and guide in Dr. Goswami, Dr. Prasad Goswami, who is the son of the son who was born probably in a place which is hardly 30 kilometers from here, from Golaghat. and he is one of the most distinguished scientists today in India, one among 4 bodies from Assam. And he just concluded a conclave of young Bhatnagar awardees today. And for last 3 days, he was taking the lead role in a policy document how India can take lead in the SNT leadership so that India emerges as the SNT leader in the world. And for your information, we had young Bhatnagar awardees from all over the country, from Pune, from Mumbai, from Bangalore, all these places, and we had a very active deliberation. Why I am telling this? If I go back to my definition of a university or higher education, that these are centers of excellence for socio-economic development. You see, because we have a university, because we have an ecosystem, we have the faculty members, we have the students, we are into science and technology, we could think of organizing such events. It might be a small event when you compare the activity at a national or global level, but you don't know. This small effort may result in a mega activity in years to come, and maybe 10 years down the line, you all will be proud that when we thought of India becoming the leader in science and technology, probably in 2022, there was a small group of people who deliberated on that topic. Thank you, Professor Goswami, for taking the lead role, and we will continue to have your guidance and advice for the growth of Northeast from which you belong, and it will be your contribution to the soil which has given you so much for your career. So as a continuing this Northeast sustainable and inclusive development, I think it's a very topic. Again, I feel we are a very small group of people who are thinking big, but there is no harm in dreaming. Unless we dream, we will not be able to achieve anything in life. So with that dream in mind, we have very distinguished guests, lead speakers and invited speakers. We will be deliberating, debating and discussing the development of Northeast for next 3 days. I welcome all of you. We will do our best to make your life comfortable, but in the process, you know, it's a small place, the connectivity is bad, we don't have many 5-star hotels, but in spite of that, we will try our best. My faculty friends, my staff friends and students will try their best to make your life comfortable, and we believe that you go back with great, and you have been instrumental in the development of Northeast in a big way years to come. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir, for your address. This will definitely set a platform for our speakers to deliver their presentation in the areas of sustainable and inclusive development with regard to Northeast.
Ladies and gentlemen, we would like to invite to the lectern a person who is not only a great motivation to us, but a visionary, and a person who gave us the belief to bring together this particular event. He is our beloved Dr. Kaziranga Goswami, Chairman SA. Please welcome him to address the gathering. Please, sir.
In a very pleasant moment, I have, as happened, a very distinguished, internationally renowned scientist in general area of, not exactly agriculture, I think I should say fishery and related sciences, and also old friends here, Dr. E.V.S. Prakash Rao, Dr. V.S. Prakash, and former colleagues at Palampur and CFTRI, Dr. Rakesh, and others. So, as Dr. Mishra said, it is a kind of a follow-up, and then we are also fortunate to have with us guests of honor, Professor Mohan Kumar and Professor G.N. Sastry. No new names to you. Professor G.N. Sastry is the director of CSIR NESID and a very well-known scientist. He also participated in this previous event that Dr. Mishra mentioned, because he also happens to be a Bhatnagar awardee. So we have, what we call the cutting edge of Indian science in terms of relatively young Bhatnagar awardees, but also driven by the wisdom of people like Dr. Anil Kaputkar, Dr. V.K. Saraswat, Dr. Sastry, Professor Dangan Pratap, and so on and so forth. So it was a event, I believe, unique in Indian history of science, because it's not very easy to bring together people who are very strong individualistic research, right? So, but today we are here to discuss something equally important, which is the sustainable development of the Northeast. While the ALIS, as we call it, Achieving Leadership for India in Science and Technology, focused on something broad, in a way, even utopian goal of taking India to the leadership position in the world of science and technology, down to earth, and tends to discuss, find out policies and measures, recommendations to how to make Northeast India inclusive development region. Now, you know that India is now the third largest economy and marching towards probably at least the third in another maybe a few years. And who knows where it will be by the time it is a 100-year-old economy, 100-year-old democracy. Certainly the largest democracy in the world. We don't know if it will be the richest, but not impossible, given current growth and so on. But then I think now many countries in the world are beginning to realize that what they might have achieved very quickly is probably not quite sustainable. And what does it mean that it is sustainable? It means that you do not compromise the needs of the future generation to meet the needs of the current generation. That the way that resources are used, you can even say exploited, does not compromise the livelihood or requirements, basic requirements of the future generation. That is sustainable. The best way to do that is to ensure that the processes are regenerative, that they go in cycles. A very good example is the renewable energy. You use energy, but it doesn't. You cut down trees, you deplete, but it is not going to be regenerated at the rate that you are taking it. If you ensure that you are taking it at a rate where it is going to be less than the way it is, or you cut it at a way less than it is generated, then it is sustainable, because you cut down but more trees will come up. So that's a very simple concept of sustainability. So inclusive development means that the development that we are seeing today, or whatever it is, working per capita income, all sectors of the society, and it doesn't get confined to a few in the society, which is again what seems to be happening in many countries in the world. Certainly the rich countries in the world, the rich is confined to fewer in the society, and development is not necessarily inclusive. So these are the basic tenets, and we know that United Nations have set up these 17 Sustainable Development Goals, and it has also more than 170, you can say, sustainable development goals. But what is not often emphasized that these goals are not of equal priority to every country. For example, countries like Canada, they don't need to worry about water resources, more than surplus of water. Even US, whereas a country like India, which is already water stressed. So water conservation, water sustainability is a big issue for India. And therefore, if we only talk about international forum, then the issues that are SDG, as they call it, Sustainable Development Goals, they are important for India, may not get equal emphasis or equal. So we need to have national focus. In the country, we need national focus. It is once again strongly regional. It is not easy to transport water from Andhra Pradesh to Assam or Assam to Andhra Pradesh. You therefore also need a strong regional focus. But conceived NESID has a very strong focus, which will explore certain issues related to sustainable and inclusive development of Northeast, given its unique demography and various diversity. Of course, the audience here knows that we have 7 states. These 7 states in Northeast actually provide about 7.9% of the total Indian landmass. It's a pretty big place. If you compare it, many countries in Europe, it is much bigger than many of them. Okay, but because it is embedded within India, we just talk about Northeast, but it is actually a pretty big region and a lot of biodiversity, a lot of geographical variation, and cultural diversity. Cultural diversity automatically makes developmental plan, health plans, implementation a challenge because people are rich and so on and so forth. But in spite of that, we have a good friendly relations among all the 7 states. It is improving now. So implementation becoming a little bit easier, but what is probably missing and why we are gathered here today is to provide the science and technology inputs to this engine of growth and development. If Northeast and development, then science and technology is going to be the fuel. Without that, it will be just another one of those, and I hope it doesn't end up providing free food. Provide food to the country and not go for free food for its inheritance. So I hope that in the therefore are essentially eminent scientists primarily, and they will talk about SNT inputs to accelerate, to enhance SID, as we call it, scientific and inclusive development, through science and technology inputs, and to some extent technology preparedness. So, it's about the resource, rich resources in the Northeast, the bioresources in particular. So definitely, sustainable use of bioresources is a priority. Now, with the coming of these schemes to utilize bioresources for fuel as an alternative to energy sources, fossil fuel energy sources, one has to be careful that it is done once again in a sustainable way and not in a way that it comprises some certain other sectors. I think one good example of what has happened is the tea agriculture in Assam, which an economic revolution. It has some procedure now, and people are cutting down. There are many varieties of trees, fruit trees, flowering trees, and so on, to accommodate even a small patch of tea garden in front of your house, and its economic benefits are really on a scale. So some of these issues we need to discuss. There are, of course, there are governmental efforts. There is no doubt about it, and we need to be very aware of it. So, our ignorance does not, qualify us to sort of make a statement that government is not doing. But they are doing. There is Department of Biotechnology efforts. There is Department of Space efforts to map the forest resources and so on. And they are definitely helping. They are helping to digitize them. The Council of Scientific and Cultural Research, CSIR, way back in 1961, actually, they formed an initiative and effort to do the material mapping of the Northeast. And they have also done many important works, such as, like in tea plantation and so on. So we need to keep that in mind when we give the patients that they build up or they enhance or upgrade government efforts, fill up the genuine gap is there, but so this is why we have structured the sessions in such a way that we start with an overview of the sustainable and inclusive reference to Northeast, a general identification of issues related to that. Again, we focus on science and technology input. So I request the speakers in that session to help us with that. And then one issue that is coming up, which is emerging, and although it is being talked about, it is not much is being done, and that is the rapid urbanization of the Northeast region, and therefore, unplanned chaotic growth of the cities, towns and cities. So what concept of smart cities has come, many of these now earlier traditional towns are began technology of smart cities to development of Northeast is another issue we would like to discuss. And we must take advantage of what we call the technology leapfrogging. A good example of technology leapfrogging is while in most parts of the world had to change from landline to mobile phone, in many areas of India, they went to the mobile phone because they didn't have the landline to begin with. It was very difficult to get a connection, it had so many complications. When mobile phone came, it could pick up across and technologically we leapfrog and such a gap where we also at the rural area, people have a lot of mobile phones, and so on and so forth. And similar leapfrogging can also happen in rural electrification and in general electrical energy uses. So we should take advantage of that, and we would like to have your thoughts and recommendations on that. So, a similar thing which is more, of general, bigger scope is a technology adaptation. One thing you must have all heard about climate change and the problems of climate change and extreme weather. We tend to always take sort of a catastrophe. But remember that climate change will also bring opportunities to many areas, especially in agriculture. And how so? Because while one crop may become unviable, another crop may become viable. It's a matter of adaptation that you have to focus on, that the people are ready to change culture, agricultural habits and go along with the changed climate. But this cannot happen unless we have S&P input and scientists to guide the farmers with very well thought out, well validated plans. So this is another area where science and technology input can be very important. We have this, what is they call the low carbon developmental pathway, in which of course replacement of fossil fuel with renewable energy is going to be and it's something very involved. There are many issues with that. In fact, in recognition of that, we have kept a side event, industry energy conclave, which will be tomorrow. Be dedicated to the discussion of low carbon developmental pathways for the Northeast in terms of transition to renewable energy from fossil fuel. We are not talking about replacement of uh, conventional energy, fossil fuel by renewable energy, but addition to it, which will be maybe over a period of 10, 20, whatever years. And there, let us again put our minds together to see how we can help industries like Numaligarh Refinery Limited, which is one of the sponsors, and they are also particularly sponsoring that event on industry energy, academy, country one. And as you know, many of you have been involved in this. The formulating policy is challenging because it has to meet two basic criteria of being implementable but non-disruptive. The method that you adopt may be disruptive, but the policy itself cannot be disruptive because makers, which is the interface with the government or politicians, will not accept it. So you have to have a policies are implementable, which will have an impact, but which will not disrupt the social order, social harmony, etc. I'm not saying it should not be disruptive in terms of its innovativeness. We need disruptive innovations, but should not be disruptive in terms of social harmony and so on. And so, with all this, today, tomorrow, and day after, we hope to come up with this sort of implementable recommendations and roadmap, which will put into a NESID 2022, and which will then be able to take it to the policymakers for their consideration, try to implement it. And so I think this is the third edition of NESID. We had started way back in 2017, and then 17 was the first one. 17. It has matured, and we are very with us today, very eminent from different sectors, from disaster management, from agricultural, general agricultural, also nutrition, soil health, then from, of course, Sapan is an expert in fishery sciences and food technology from CFTRI Mysore, from Palampur. So it is an excellent gathering. Which you're able to come up with a unique policy document which will have implementable recommendations. So thank you once again for giving me this opportunity and for your attention. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for your insight into the motive behind the birth of NESID and providing an overview what exactly will continue with the sessions today, tomorrow, the day after tomorrow, and what kind of strategies we need to take for the benefit of the people of this northeast part of our country. Thank you once again, sir.
So, as Ken Blanchard said, the key to successful leadership today is influence and inclusiveness and not authority.
Coming up next, ladies and gentlemen, item on the agenda. It is now time for us to hear the address of our guest of honor, the director of the G. Narahari Sastry. And indeed, it is an honor for us to introduce before you this distinguished gentleman.
Professor Sastry is a chemist who works in the interdisciplinary areas spanning chemistry, biology, modeling, and informatics. He has made fundamental contributions in computational and theoretical chemistry. He was awarded with Shanti Swarup Bhatnagar Award in the year 2011. He is a recipient of many prestigious awards, including Birla Award, BC Dave Memorial Award, and many more. He was a visiting professor at IMS Japan, LMU Munich, Jackson State University USA, and Kyushu University Japan. His research work was published in about 300 research papers and reviews, which received over 11,445 citations with a H index 52.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome him to the lectern with a big round of applause.
Good evening. Thank you very much for your kind words of introduction. And Professor Mohan Kumar, the Vice Chancellor of Arunachal University of Studies, see that the person of his caliber joins as a Vice Chancellor in Arunachal. For me, Kaziranga University is almost like a home. And Professor Mishra and Professor Goswami, I know him for decades as our viewers in Bangalore. It's actually important to have ideas which can be converted into actionables. I was truly thrilled and surprised about a year back when Professor Goswami and Professor Mishra has thought about by bringing the Bhatnagar Award is of recent past, last 3-4 years, and also inviting the topmost people from Niti Aayog, DST, DBT, CSIR, and bring them to have a policy that how do we achieve this leadership in science and technology. That's a tall order for somebody sitting in Jorhat. But I think all of us should really congratulate them for this wonderful idea. While we're not very successful in getting all the people, but the quality of deliberations, interest, enthusiasm with which last 2 days were conducted is really, really admirable. And country needs things like this. We should think big, we should have good ideas, and once you have an idea, definitely at the right time they will fructify. And now we continue with the third version of this NESID seminar, where we try to look at the sustainable and inclusive development in Northeast. While we focus on development, most of the time not be paying attention to the micro. And when that does not happen, we might lose inclusiveness or sustainability or both. To embark on a path of development, we will have to look at its sustainability. For example, we would like to expand the infrastructure of roads. So we should see whether the money that we invest in that, whether we have that money, where from you raise, and then whether that will be sustainable and at what cost we are making this infrastructure development. And similarly, when you have a huge urbanization that's going on, it comes with a cap of power. And whether we have resources to meet this power. We all know what is happening in Sri Lanka. We all also have seen that Pakistan is facing a huge problem with power. I mean electricity. Power is different. All types of problems are there, but this electricity is an issue. And we also like water, climate change. India, today when we hear the news that has reached 8 billion population, the line is India will overtake China. As we cannot do much happy about it, because at least we are number one in one aspect. But having said, there's everything to cheer about. That the young power that we have, the ratio of people below 25 years and above 65 years, our uterine rate is always high. That's very much important. When we are talking about the sustainability and development, China is already realized that they made a mistake with one-child policy. Even when being incentive to have more children, still the prediction is in about a couple of decades, their population will decrease drastically. And more importantly, the numerator of below 25 years people will be very, very less. And that might pose problems of different kind. Most of us used to have a problem that, oh, when you spend coal, you may not have it in the next 30 years or 40 years or 50 years. Probably because we don't have the type of knowledge. The coal reserves that are there, by any, will take care of us at least for 100 years. Is it possible for us to spend this coal, have an environment which is sustainable? This is a problem. So tomorrow's this industry talk, building a transitions to renewables. Probably because we have enough coal, but we don't want to burn it, or we don't want to use it the way we are using. We have to come up with newer ways. All of us know in Assam that who are the kings of Assam? The tea garden owner. You have a big khandan, and then there is tea garden, and these are all very, very rich people, as I understand. But now the tea industry problems. There is a challenge in sustainability. About a few years before, a new concept has come that small tea garden owners, which was like a joke about 30 years before. Tea garden owners cannot be small, right? They have to be big. People were also very skeptical when the small tea garden owners have started. But currently, as I understand, that the number of small tea garden owners are more than 1.5 lakh. And they are able to sustain and take it to a different level. And we have, which is more than 100-year-old, probably one of the first scientific institution which is dedicated to tea. And we have a lots of people, and we have multiple challenges. Challenges are definitely opportunities. There are multiple challenges in sustainability, and we need to have the right type of technology. It may be microbiology, it may be biochemistry, it may be biotechnology, it may be artificial intelligence, it may be engineering guided by IoT. There are multiple challenges that are there in tea industry alone, and if we are not able to really cater to the needs of the tea industry and provide solutions, probably we are not really living up to the challenges. The side products about the tea waste and the possible phytochemicals that we can have for different uses are really open challenges. And I'm so happy and concerned at this that Northeast is a hub of oil, petroleum. Big boy. Big boy is like a Makkah and Medina for oil industry. It's really something. And we have as NRL, I understood that the turnover is around 57,000 crores. And when the industry is expanding, there are lots of challenges, effluent treatment. And we are so happy that currently the MD of NRL, those who are there, Mr. Bhaskar Pukar, is a very, very passionate person. And we are very happy to work with them. Not only ONGC, BPC, all these industries have their own challenges in sustainability and inclusiveness or survival, whether it is upstream or downstream. About 3 years before, there is a Bagjan oil well blowout. And people were not very, very serious about it. In the first 1 week or 10 days, it went on for 3 months. We are not able to cap it. And we from NESID also, we wanted to do some help, but there was some dilly-dallying. But after a month, the then Chief Minister, Sri Saravanan Sonowal, has called us and then tried to actually assess what is the seismicity, and then we did that project in 2 months. But before that, the only people that they are contacting is somebody from abroad. We don't have the knowledge. We don't have the expertise even for small things. And our lab has conducted the soil, air, and water pollutant levels after the blowout, and based on that, the Supreme Court has. So, we have to have science and technology which will be able to come to the rescue of the region locally. Some of you might have heard this Vizag, I think Finantrine, that polymerization went out of control, and there is a very, very young fellow who was trying to contact somebody in Korea, and people got sick, and many cattle out of. It's a huge problem, and then people had to go from Nili Nagpur and IICT and some other IITs. They have to come after 4 days to actually provide some solutions. If they have a scientist whom they can contact within an hour or within a day in Vizag itself, they would have easily come up with solutions, because the polymerization reaction is going out of control, which is an exothermic reaction, and they don't know how to stop it.
I want to tell you what was.
And there are several such things are there when our Mishraji is talking about a large number of people are going from Northeast to get education. This is not really good. A large number of people going to Ukraine to study MBBS. This is a disaster. I jokingly say that the type of assistance that the Indian government has given to rescue people from Ukraine to here, if they can make 1 or 2 medical colleges, and then that would have been. Actually, we should know that how do we strengthen the structures which will be having some long-term impact. And if people like us who have the privilege of getting access to the education in a country have the equal privilege, think that this is something that somebody at the government will do it. Government will have very, very positive thoughts and they will make policies. But the problem is we have to implement it, right? We'll have to own it. I know people like Professor Ayappan, who is the secretary, this policy making body, they all will work very hard. And whoever is there currently or earlier, come and then work with the most, but yes, that from reaching our destinations. Somebody, when they are reviewing CSIR, they say that India suffers from a phenomenon called intellectual indigestion. That Sarkar Commission, maybe Dr. Prakash knows about this term. That it's not that we have a problem with the ideas. All the ideas are there, we are not able to execute it. If you are not able to execute it, there's indigestion, right? So the system has a problem like that. So, but if we actually give up, if you don't even have ideas, then there's a bigger problem. I think this particular conference very nicely divided into beginning with a regional perspective and then go up to food, energy and inclusive health and inputs and solutions and technology adaptation with climate change and disaster resilience or disaster management, policies for the inclusive development with an industry academia conclave with building a low carbon economy for the Northeast, followed by the final synthesis of these plenary recommendations and all these things, is a very, very nice way. And I think if all of us take it very seriously, at least we will have the right type of knowledge. So many things I came to know. When I come to Assam, I realized that in Jorhat, they import, I don't remember this number, 3 lakh or 5 lakh eggs per day here. And then there is a small initiative like Bahubali eggs, and then NIST also is helping them. So able to cater to a part of that. And most of you know that the local fish 2 times or 3 times more from Odisha or Andhra or some other places. Very, very different. And somebody has, Mr. Goswami is saying that you cannot transport water to Assam to some other place. You cannot even transport fish also. West coast in Pune, the price of fish is much smaller because vegetarians there. Whereas in the east coast, the fish price is always more expensive. So there is a huge problem with the price of the meat in Northeast. The pork prices higher in Northeast compared to Hyderabad. Animal husbandry is a very big thing. So for that we have to work on the infectious diseases and zoonotic diseases, because last few years there had to be a lot of culling of the, we all know the bird flus and other things. The sustainability of them is very, very tough. To talk about some of the jokes, some of the facts are like jokes. The biggest joke for me is when there is mighty Brahmaputra flowing through Guwahati, there is a drinking water problem. Guwahati faces a drinking water problem. Is it a joke or not? Why? Because this is a complete, any concern at various levels. This is a fact. And We have problems of water. Water problem is everywhere. The fluoride, arsenic, and these things can be easily be tackled. But in Jorhat also we have a drinking water problem. Mostly it is because of the higher content of iron. Iron is very difficult to treat. But the drinking water problem is much bigger because of plastic bottles. And we are very, very clear that in all these plastic bottles, we have the microplastics. Do we need to buy a bottle like this by paying some money? Forget about what is its cost, but how it will cost our health, we will have to look at. And once we talk about water and climate change, employment, which I don't want to discuss, but healthcare is very important. The major problem in most of us in Northeast is there is no health center and doctors will hardly visit, even if they are posted. This is a fact, whether people agree or not. And 40% of the people, some of them even have to give the medicines from their own income because they are very passionate about giving help to poor people. But the system will be not able to support the people who are helping the society. We will not have a progress unless we respect knowledge and then do fundamental science. The joke is that stop fundamental science and do applied science. This is not possible. I see that fundamental science is like a bank account or creating a property. And applied science is using that bank account, utilizing it or utilizing the property. If any nation ignores basic science and fundamental science, they cannot be good in applied science. Japan has been drifting away from the leadership because they give undue importance to they did not science. And US is also losing. And if you like, the only country which is spending a lot of effort, money, government guided support for fundamental, you can see any paper or science, nature or any top paper or whatever paper. The contributions of Chinese, the country will have lots of progress. And I particularly like the private universities should also be taken responsibility and we have to trust them and then we have to give them enough respect. And I'm sorry, now I will have to stop because it's more than 15 minutes. And I feel that this is a very, very important conference and Northeast is a very special place and there are lots of opportunities and I'm looking forward for the next 2-3 days, either CSIR or NESID or any other, because we should work in ways where we all have to come together. We have to dissolve these differences that we have, whether it's a university or IIT or CSIR or DBT or DST. It's all one country. And I think this particular initiative with the brainchild of Professor Goswami and Professor Mishra and all the leadership of Kaziranga, then we would like to take it very seriously. Ideas that we have will be implemented so that we don't suffer from intellectual indigestion. Thank you very much.
Sir, we appreciate your professionalism and we thank you for honoring us this very evening. It is a wonderful experience to have you among us and your presence itself added to the charm of this event. And we do hope that in the days to come, your support and cooperation will always be with us. Thank you once again, sir.
Now moving on to the much awaited agenda, because it's now time for all of us to hear the address of our guest of honor, the Vice Chancellor, University of Science Studies, Namsai, Professor B. Mohan Kumar.
Professor B. Mohan Kumar has been associated with numerous universities in India and abroad during his long career. He had worked in some of the universities of our country, especially Nalanda University, Bihar, Kerala University, University of Tokyo, University of Florida, etc. He has co-authored more than 200 publications till date. He is a fellow of National Academy of Agricultural Sciences, National and National Academy of Sciences. He has been part of editorial board of numerous journals related to agricultural sciences. Welcome him to the lectern with a big round of applause. So please.
Thank you for introductory words. Honorable Chief Guest of today's function, Professor Ayappan, former DG of SCR and my ex-boss, Dr. G.N. Shastri, Director of CSIR NESID, Dr. Goswami, Chairman of the National Organizing Committee of the Institute of Frontier Science Applications, Dr. Mishra, Vice Chancellor of the host university, Dr. E.A.P. Espirao, my friend, delegates from far and wide, faculty members of this Kaziranga University, ladies and gentlemen, good evening to all of you. It's a pleasure for me to say a few words on this occasion, in this opening ceremony of this 3-day national conference on Northeast Sustainable and Inclusive Development. I must congratulate and compliment the Kaziranga University and the Institute for Frontiers Sciences and Applications conceived this idea of having a conference or a conference series on sustainable and inclusive development with a special focus on Northeast, as you probably know, has got several unique features. Perhaps what comes to my mind first is the natural resource endowments of Northeast. Huge forest areas, forest cover, plant genetic diversity or genetic resources are rich. We have some of those rice or amazing kind of rice genetic diversity and many other crop genetic resources. There is huge amount of diversity in this Northeast, and of course, this is also the Eastern Himalayas is one of those 36 global biodiversity. And of course, traditionally, historically, biodiversity hotspots has been the rally point and mantra for conservation of natural resources, conservation of forests. But then there is a huge amount of, it only covers the 36 global biodiversity scores, as you probably know, covers only 2.4% of the global land surface area. and a vast amount of biodiversity inside this global biodiversity hotspots. And these are called the so-called biodiversity cold spots. Northeast is very rich in terms of these cold and biodiversity cold spots also, because these are diversity or other tree diversity that you often find in the managed, usually outside the radar of the conservation. Conservation people actually has been focusing on these biodiversity hotspots. Vast expanses, vast area, vast biodiversity is probably outside this so-called biodiversity hotspots. This conference, the sustainable or inclusive and sustainable development of North, is very important, as several previous speakers have already mentioned, and it possibly three dimensions. These are the social dimensions, the ecological dimensions, environmental dimensions. And ecological, talking about the ecological dimensions, although we have, of course, India, as you probably know, we have a stable forest resource base over the, but I come from a state called Arunachal, Assam, and we have 79.3%. The Indian forest cover is only 21.7%, but Arunachal we have 79.3% of forest cover. But then over the years, if you take the Forest Survey of India assessments 2021 and 2019, over the period, there was a reduction in forest cover of about 25,000 hectares of forest cover. So there is a problem with respect to forest conservation, and this will throw some light about the need to conserve, or because in Arunachal or maybe in other states as well, this is a kind of general problem where forests are being degraded and destroyed. Vast areas of forest, rich forest. Do you remember, this is one of the biodiversity, Eastern Himalayas constitute one of those important biodiversity hotspots, but forest destruction going on unabated, and there is a need to probably stop this rate of forest degradation and also forest destruction that is happening. This is not unique to North, but it's a global phenomenon. Forest destruction, Amazon, the associated biodiversity loss, and the best science policy platform for biodiversity and ecosystem services. In their 2019 assessment has mentioned that nature is shrinking at rates unprecedented in history, and there are over 1 million plant and animal species face the risk of extinction, and many within the next couple of decades. So there is a problem with respect to biodiversity conservation and the provision of ecosystem services the world over. Probably this is more relevant where the awareness is not much. People still continue to destroy forests, and also there is a lot of degradation associated with the forests of northeastern India. I can say this with a particular reference to Arunachal Pradesh, but my guess is that this is true for the rest of northeast. Also, of course, talking about inclusive development, certainly there is a lot of economic inequalities in this region, and there is need to better for a stronger economic growth in order to support the people in this region, to help the people in this region. But of course, there is a problem. The standard cliche, the rich getting richer and poor getting poorer syndrome, can probably best explain the scenario. And probably this is more so in Northeast, at least in states like, although the Millennium Development Goals of 2000, year 2000, tried to reduce the economic disparities and to kind of reduce the autonomous consumption. But now this probably that goal of the MDG has probably not been accomplished, and therefore the UN General Assembly has adopted the so-called, the report called Transforming Our World, the Action Plan for Sustainable Development, and which embeds the Sustainable Development Goals, about which have hinted about that. There are 17 of those, and these are Sustainable Development Goals. You know very well is aimed at the basic objective is to erase the social erase disparities with respect to economic and or social inequalities, and erase the social floor, and also the kind of establish what is planetary boundaries for most of our actions. If you look at our actions over the years, in the past, historically, these planetary boundaries transgressed. And the social floor has been seldom considered in our economic development activities. So there is clearly a need to look into or to see that our actions do not transgress boundaries. I mean, it's a concept. A very influential paper, some of you must have seen, wrote by none other than a Swedish scientist, John Rockström, who proposed the idea of planetary boundaries. Most of those planetary boundaries are, as I said, are being crossed. Although ideally we should not. Development, now industrial development, now agricultural progress, we should not have crossed these planetary boundaries. And there is certainly social problems, not only economic problems, but also social problems associated with that. And as I mentioned earlier, there's a social disparities and inequalities existing in this northeastern region, and I must also say that there's a big between Assam and the northeastern states. Assam probably is well developed with respect to many of those social or economic indicators, but the rest of Northeast probably is behind with respect to most of those economic criteria or social criteria, and in terms of social or socio-economic parameters in education. If you look at it, Arunachal is one state which has got very low literacy level, this is about 65%, but maybe some of the other states like Meghalaya or Assam has got far better literacy level. And although the NEP 2020 kind of create a new ecosystem for education, like India becomes the Vishwaguru and all another 10, 15 years. But northeastern states like Arunachal Pradesh has to go a long way to accomplish some of these set out in the NEP 2020. And then Dr. Shastri mentioned about healthcare facilities. Healthcare facilities are really awful, I must say, in many parts. Arunachal Pradesh and maybe some of the other northeastern states. Like situation in Guwahati or situation in Jorhat may be far better, but eastern Arunachal Pradesh, from where I come from, the healthcare facilities are not really up to the mark. And people actually suffer from that, and people also, even for simple ailments, there are no treatments as earlier, Shastri has mentioned. There are no physicians in the hospitals. Traditional health healers are there, but no, that community traditional healers, the community are also declining, or their knowledge, the indigenous knowledge is also declining or being lost over a period of time. So, healthcare facilities, there's a lot to be done in many northeastern states. I can clearly say that this is the need of the time with respect to. And then comes another important aspect of food and nutrition. Globally, as you know, there are in the state of food security, food insecurity report says that globally there are 828 million people who are under, and in India we have about 195 million people who are undernourished. There is a need to ensure food and nutritional security to vast sections of our people if we really need to make progress. And the governments, the civil society, and everyone, all stakeholders in this context must play a vital role in trying to provide food and nutrition security to our people. Although, COVID has actually, the pandemic has really adversely affected food security in many parts of the world. And of course, it was compounded by the conflict between Russia and Ukraine because of that conflict, the cereal prices has been going up, and also the fertilizer prices has been going up around the world. So this has realized this conflict between Russia and during the COVID time, although many food production or maybe economic activities in general declined, our officials say that we had during and the year last year, that is 2021, with respect to total cereal total food grain production in this country. We had a record 360 total food grain production thanks to the adoption of technology, and COVID really has not did not do much harm as far as total food grain production in this country is concerned. But climate change is a major threat. Government of India, ICR has got had big projects to on climate change mitigation and adaptation, like the National Initiative on Climate Adaptation, the NICRA project, Climate Resilient Agriculture, National Mission on Sustainable Agriculture. All these are aimed at reducing the negative impacts of climate change on agricultural production. Agriculture actually in India, the figures say that agriculture contributes to about 14% of the total greenhouse, and globally the food system contributes to 21 to 37% of greenhouse gas emission. We need to develop technologies. Agricultural science should be applied to evolve technologies, adaptation strategies, or mitigation strategies, so as to reduce the greenhouse on account of fertilizer application, on account of enteric fungus, so on and so forth. Another important problem or dimension of this issue is the huge amount of food wastage that is actually happening in this country. According to a report published by the National Academy of Agricultural Sciences, 40% of our agricultural produce is actually wasted. And this is actually a very important source of this wasted food or agricultural produce actually constitutes of greenhouse gas emission. In respect of food, ranks third after UN. So, and the emission from food waste has been estimated to be 122 million tons carbon dioxide equivalent. And in order to accomplish or in order to achieve carbon neutrality, we probably need to have some strategies. And I think that we should start in the northeastern region of the country, where we have I mean, where agriculture is one of the fundamental people, and there is a huge amount of biodiversity or genetic resources available, which could be used for evolving appropriate varieties or technologies for having a climate resilient agricultural production system. We probably need better production systems, needs better nutrition, and also better environment and overall better life. And with that, probably in that UN Food System Summit, food policy report of the IFPRI has recommended what is now known as the food system transition or food system transformation. And in this food system transformation, so what is all about it is kind of sustainable and also maybe inclusive food production system so that there is food and nutritional security to the vast sections of and the local food production systems actually play a vital role in this respect. And Northeast, as you probably know, has got a wide array of local food production systems, and home gardens are one of those most important local food production systems throughout Northeast India, and not only Northeast India, other parts of India and maybe other parts of the tropical world too. Home gardens are, they conserve agrobiodiversity. So one of the prominent structural features of tropical home gardens around here and is the great diversity of species from herbaceous plants to big trees, and they provide year-round nutritious fruits. So that, and because of this, I mean, some experimental studies conducted in Bangladesh and Nepal has clearly established that people with home gardens or the children of people with home gardens are less prone to deficiency diseases like xerophthalmia or maybe iron or iodine deficiency diseases because they regularly consume nutritious fruits and vegetables. So, bringing in this local food production systems and with respect to system transition is requires a lot of innovations throughout the food value chain, and another local food production system is wild edibles, collection and consumption of wild edibles. Throughout Northeast India, you find people collecting fruits and tubers, leaves from the wild, but the question is whether these are being done in a sustainable manner. The problem is that most of these there is overexploitation, there is probably need to make awareness about this overexploitation and also need to, domesticate some of these. And then farming edible insects. So because earlier, traditionally many people were consuming insects, but forest cover, loss of ecosystem services, changes in ecosystem, the availability of this has become a problem, and therefore there is a need to do what is called edible insect farming, so that there is better. I believe this conference will focus on some of these aspects and throw more light on these, so that that could be reflected in the that is being prepared. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir, for sharing your.
We are indeed elated to listen to the words of wisdom of today's chief guest, former Director General of the Indian Council of Agricultural Research, Dr. S. Ayappan.
He is an aquaculture scientist who has held several key positions in various government organizations related to agricultural science. He was the Director General of the Indian Council of Agricultural Research and Secretary to Government, Department of Research and Education, Chancellor of Central Agricultural University.
Thank you. Thank you very much for the good afternoon and very esteemed gathering this for the national this conference of the Northeastern Sustainable Inclusive Development 2022. At the outset, I'd like to thank the organizers for this opportunity. Respected Chairman of the Institute of Sciences and Application, Professor Prashant Goswamiji, Honorable Vice Chancellor of the Assam Kaziranga University, Dr. P.K. Mishra, the two co-organizers of this meet, esteemed Director of the CSIR NESID, Dr. My colleague, former colleague, the Arunachal University of Studies, Dr. B. Mohan Kumar. I also see many LDS Prakash Rao, the former head of the CMAC Bangalore Center, Dr. Ravi S. Prakash, former founder director, Natural Disaster Management, Dr. Rakesh Kumar, PT. We also have one colleague locally, you might have known, not have known, Dairy Research Institute of the Central Select Board, Dr. Vijay Kumari is here from Ladaigar. Because I'm mentioning this because we all need to work together in a place like this. The chairman of the local organizing committee, Dr. T.V.L. Rao, and very senior faculty from the university, student friends, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for the opportunity. Very conference. I don't know whether to call it a seminar, symposium, workshop, round table. I don't know what to name it. But about 6 months back, as far back as 6 months, Professor Goswami called me, and then there's going to be a conference like this. I never imagined that 16 November 2022 will come so soon. We had really not planned the whole thing. But finally, we are here. Very nice location. I'm wondering whether it's in Jorhat or in New Delhi. I mean, that the elegance and diligence with which you have gone about Professor Goswami and Dr. P.K. Mishra, I'd like to thank you for bringing and also addressing in a focused manner Northeastern development. And having been associated, have been coming to Northeast for a pretty long time, and including from the Indian Council and presently at the Central Agriculture University. All the time we keep discussing this word development, as Professor Shastri said, it could be any area of economic activity. You might be concentrating energy and so on. But then we keep wondering what it takes to have development. And in school days, even we had studied land, labor, capital, and entrepreneurship. This is what in high school days we were told to repeatedly write this. What does it take to make a good enterprise? Land, labor, capital, enterprise, and entrepreneurship. And we did find a lot of problems in even writing the spelling of entrepreneurship and all that that goes with it. Recently, we have been discussing. It's basically the resources, then the investment infrastructure, the policy strategy, the human resource, and the market. Like we keep discussing. So when it comes to Northeast, when we keep wondering whether it's a paradox that we have been discussing the same issue over and again all the time. Huge resources. Everybody says huge resources, not only natural resources but also human. As you mentioned, students going away to other cities for education. And it's Assam Kaziranga University. You provide a platform for students for students, to get local education. Similarly, coming from the center headquartered in Imphal now, I would like to say that fortunately we have 14 colleges in all the 7 states, and it does provide opportunity for the northeastern students otherwise who were to go away, even at the graduate level. Fortunately, there is a platform for the graduation, and for them, I keep meeting the students from all the 7 states in each of the colleges, and they're so very happy. And why I'm mentioning this is such bright, diligent, obedient students, and after their graduation, they do so well in the national level competitions that most of our central universities, elsewhere, whether it's Delhi or Karnal, anywhere, they're one-third of them are from Northeast, in agricultural domain at least. So this shows, given an opportunity, how they can excel. On the flip side, I was mentioning this afternoon, we also have this problem of drain, able-bodied youth, boys from northeastern states for working in very menial jobs. I must mention Bombay, Mumbai, Chennai, Bangalore, anywhere. Whether it's security or it's many things. We find a lot of northeastern. Estimate is in the last 5 years, at least about 3 lakh boys and girls have left northeastern states for these kinds of jobs in hotels. You see all of them. So then we keep wondering whether it's an opportunity or a loss. In fact, we have been mentioning to wherever there were we are in the planning board in the state of Tripura, or sometimes we do meet the honorable ministers. We keep mentioning you should somehow hold them back in the northeast, because once they go, they do not come back. We have seen students who are going for higher education, they don't come back. They somehow settle somewhere else. And so for these kinds of jobs, they also don't come back. And it's a big loss to agriculture. I mean, I'm coming from agriculture. So these points we keep discussing. And this meet, I'm sure, and we wish white paper, 3 pages about actionable points. As you said, Dr. Shastri, you said, intellectual indigestion. Absolutely. And on the action side, a total backdrop we see in terms of intentions. Because as you said, democracy, political willingness, I'm sure if we provide an action, I was working with, for a few years with the Honorable Chief Minister of Tripura, it's the new one now. Very enthusiastic. He did create a seed hub. A few things that we mentioned. He did. So a 2-3 page actionable point to the planning minister would be good. That's what I thought. And then, as you said, low carbon activity, all these things would to be coming in. So, science and technology. Science, always we have been discussing, science is universal, technology is contextual. The innovation would happen anywhere. Innovation would happen in farms and houses, and in fact, why I mentioned is I come from agricultural background. I keep talking of knowledge, information, and all that. One of the farmers don't say all that thing. Can you say what is information, what is knowledge, and what is wisdom in very rustic terms? So that people can understand. Please tell me. We normally Google for everything. He said very simple. Tomato. Tomato. क्यों है पूछ रहे हैं? Tomato is edible, eatable. That is information. Tomato is a fruit. It is not a vegetable. Though it is sold in vegetable shops, tomato is a fruit because by definition, so that is knowledge. Tomato is a fruit, but never use it in fruit salad. That is wisdom. Very good. So this kind of wisdom, that please do not underestimate, because we are talking of these different areas. All kinds of things. But the wisdom of people of this country, as you said rightly, the population, maybe that's going to add to the intellectual capital of this country, and that's where we find some ray of hope in the 8 billion. Yesterday was the 8 billionth child must have been born. So now we keep seeing rays of hope in these people who do not wear a tie. In fact, many people ask me, we want to be smart. Our farmers tell me we want to be smart. Phones, and you are smart, you go with a tie, why I should not be smart? I tell him why I go to conference, otherwise I never use a tie. But the point is, yes, everybody should be smart. Why not smart farming today? In industry for people are saying, why not farming for? Why not agriculture for? I mean, this kind of an anxiety, aspiration, ambition coming from it, I mean, this is what brings us a ray of hope. And in a place like Jorhat, you're able to organize a conference like this. Kudos to you. Hats off to you. Because we always, and I come from, I think many of us come from small towns, where we studied in vernacular media, government schools, and all. Complex is always there. Whereas Indians and nowadays Bangaloreites, who make all the headlines, and then others, remain. But having meetings like this in a place, a message, people are interested. Wherever there is good thing happening, there are people interested. That's what I would like to thank you and say that I've been asked to be here to share a few words for a few minutes, and then I was also wondering what to say. Science, technology, innovation was mentioned. I'm always fond of telling this. This is the data from DST, Government of India. It's not my data. The research intensity of this country, compared to the global intensity, is irrespective that we do. Aerospace to atomic energy to agriculture to defense to whatever. We are not more than 2 persons per million population. We also keep discussing the investments and so forth. But at this point, our request is any university is a platform for these kind of 255 scientists. So we are today 1370 million. Multiply all that, we are not more than 5 lakhs of research compared to at least a global average and maybe 40 times more in Japan and US and so on. So that's why we do. Let's do good science. Let's do good research. Let's even I keep pleading with the PhD scholars that don't waste your energy on topics that could be of lesser importance or that could be put for another day. Only address real issues. What it takes a common man to appreciate science. Now, only a fortnight back, we launched the James Webb Telescope came in, and then also in that, somewhere people didn't notice. Finally, the Ministry of Environment, Forest, Government of India gave clearance for the transgenic GM mustard. I think many people did not notice because it went away in the back pages. This is one BT cotton. That's the only genetically modified crop that we are growing. So now recently the mustard also has been given a brinjal mustard one. So there are many things and which people want to take to the farmers want to take. So like this, but the point is how much communication that we can do with regard to science to the society. That's where my salutations to Dr. Goswamiji, a very elegant science communication he kept doing, and then today it's all the more required to talk about science to the youth of this country, to the society, to say that how good the SNT, what kind of role it can play. Of course, everybody knows. The morning, the moment you get up, it's a smartphone in the hand. Nothing else. Even tea does not come. They all know what is the implication. But when it comes to actual science, that way COVID, and I'm sure the whole globe was reeling. But the respect for scientists, respect for whatever we did in SMT grew many fold in the Indian society. People when we talk of PCR, even a vegetable vendor, he knows what is PCR and what is a virus, and so everybody talks in the so that kind of awareness that has come about. So we feel 2022 and now a few weeks more 23 speak about science and technology like never before. People would appreciate. Earlier it used to be difficult. I'm sure Goswami ji would agree. Today, when you talk about science, technology, the benefits, immediately everybody comes around. So I think these are platforms. One of the platforms in Jorat that you have started, and NESID conference, I wish it will bring out this kind of strategy. As I said, I'm basically from the agricultural background, so I thought I would present a few slides. Agriculture does matter. I hope it does matter. In the slides I will present, it does matter. And in this presentation, I would like my colleague Dr. Nachan and Dr. Mishra from the ICR complex in Barapani in Meghalaya. For your kind attention, a few slides. And you would agree with this. This was the statement by the poor, food is God. There is nothing more. So, this is just to bring home the, and then as I said, we also keep talking to many cross sections of first, teacher first, lawyer first. When everybody agrees, it's the farmer who is the first. So, esteemed colleagues, unprecedented pandemic, 8 billion people, Dr. Shastri also mentioned. Now, for the first time, we saw the reverse migration from cities to villages. Earlier, it was all the time rural to cities, but some small reverse migration did happen. And I'm sure you would agree, the only two sectors that worked during the pandemic were health and food. And as well as disasters, wars, and all that, I should not say 10 years, it's only 7 years to the SDGs, and that was mentioned. And Atmanirbhar Bharat, Adi Kamrat Mahotsav, all that we have gone through. Breath, we have two platforms that I talk about, the National Education Policy 2020 and the Science Technology Innovation Policy 2020. These two platforms provide some action for S&T oriented economic activities. SDGs, the transition in it, 7 years. Now, whatever we do in any university, in any institution, it's very important towards SDGs. And mention the climate still is so prevalent across the globe, and we are worried. The recent estimate, people agree, might not agree, in the global hunger index 7 out of 121. We have a lot of things to talk about, but at the same time, the ground realities are hunger, malnutrition still prevalent in such manner. And then climate risk index again, India is the seventh most vulnerable country when it comes to climate change. The point of your seminar where you talked of low carbon footprints. 75 years did we not produce food from 35 crore people, today we are 137 crore people. Yeah, we did produce food, but we are not so much worried about the water footprints or the energy footprints. But today, whatever we do, people ask us to provide a document or produce a document as to how much water, how much energy we have consumed in this process. In this scenario, we talk of footprints in Indian agriculture. You might have heard of Dr. Norman Borlaug, Nobel laureate in the field of not agriculture. In fact, it was a peace prize, but for his work in agriculture for bringing dwarf Mexican wheat, enabling green revolution. You must be knowing Professor M.S. Swaminathan, the esteemed senior colleague of Indian Green Revolution's architect. You must have known also Dr. Kurian. When we talk of milk, we talk of Dr. Kurian. The fish revolution also. One Dr. Chowdhury, who bred the first fish. In fact, Dr. P.K. Mishra sir, it was in Cuttack. The first fish was bred in Cuttack in 1907. And then this is how the whole thing, the Indian agriculture and food. Now, today, what we are, so we are only 4% of the global water, only 2.5% of the global land, but sustaining nearly 18% of the human population. We sing Sujalam, Sufalam, Sasya Shyamanam, Vande Mataram. Why do we sometimes I think why do we think that 18% of the global population on just this much of water and land, and including 15% livestock. So today of the cultivable about 330 million hectares is the total country's area, but then 142 million hectares is the cultivated area. Please also appreciate 18% of the contribution in GDP comes from agriculture, and nearly 50% are dependent on agriculture. When it comes to Northeast, it is much more. I will give you some data later. Now, another problem that we have in agriculture is a small farmer holding, less than 5 acres. 90% today of the Indian farmers, that is 14 crore farming families. Even today, 60 in the country depend on agriculture. Universities, I asked them where the students come from. Where we come from, and everybody says I am from a city. But when we go to their parents from a village, grandparents from a village. So basically that kind of a rural connect is very much is there in India. And this is what we are, like very small farming holding. That's our challenge. I'm not going into too much details, friends. It's about, as was mentioned, 350 million tons of food, and then the vegetable, fruit, and all that. But what I would like to be, it is this figure: 300. We are only 50 million tons, and at the time of Indian independence, and more than that, the any corner of the country, I'm sure in Assam you get apple everywhere, any corner of the village, which we are not. Similarly, if we go to milk, we are the largest producer of milk in the world. Now, go on and on, I'm not going into those details, but point today, the press always says India produces 300 million tons of food, which is not just fruits, vegetables, fish, milk, meat, egg. So it's 950 million tons of food for a billion plus population. Otherwise, we would not have been comfortable today sitting in an auditorium like this, having 3 times food. In spite of 40 countries in the world today are having food crisis. Fortunately, in this country, Sri Lanka was mentioned, Ukraine was mentioned. Fortunately, in this country, we do not have that situation. The has never ever recurred. I mean, that's the beauty of this country. That's the impact of science and technology on food production. And these are other. We are more than a 10% of the global production, nearly a quarter of the Asian production. And then, while we have problems, hunger, malnutrition, we should also be proud. 5-year-old country is able to sustain 300, 140, nearly 140 crore people in this manner. But challenges, climate change was mentioned, stresses, I mean, all these are mentioned. The point is, as we go along, how do we use technology for sustainable in all spheres? Fortunately, we have more than 10% of the global biodiversity, whether it's plant or animal, a big thing to happen. But our resource base in India does not have more than 0.1 hectare. If you take the population and the area, we don't have zero point 0.1 hectare, whereas an American can claim 10 hectares. So comparisons that kind. So what is the future of food and farming? It can't be just the field crop, rice, wheat, maize. There has to be much more: fruits, vegetables, spices, plantation crops, all those things that we talk, including Northeast. The livestock, fish was mentioned, and then agroforestry. So what we are now talking about is from less for more, starch to protein. For the first time, the society talks of immunity. Common people talking of immunity. Immunity, then COVID is not there. So now everybody wants that kind of a protein, and we are under stress agriculture. Now more of in the Northeast resources galore. What we don't have in Northeast is secondary agriculture. We grow some rice, we grow tea very well in the fine. Tea gets processed, rice gets, there is no secondary agriculture. Beyond the primary crops is not there. That's the problem in India, in the Northeast. Absolutely infrastructure and processing is not there. You get world brand pineapple, sir, world brand pineapple in Nagaland, but then the price is sale. If we only had good processing plant, other tetra packs coming in, we could have realized so much more. That's the issue here. Now, as I said, the farmers keep asking me, it doesn't go back, is it? Yeah, why this slide was, as I told, the farmers said that we also want to be smart. So we said, okay, can you be agripreneurs? They like this word. Otherwise, they keep telling, my grandfather was a farmer. I am a farmer. My son will be a farmer. Whereas you are a scientist one day you are a director, one day you are a director general. Every 10 years you say something. But I have remained a farmer for 4 generations. I mean, can you understand their heart, the pain in their heart? So what we have to enable them so much more to see that it's an inclusive society. Today, sir, farmers respect in society. That's enough. That is inclusivity. Or we always don't talk of money, but then give us a role, give us a due respect for the role we are playing in this country. So in this study, I won't go into detail. What is the average income of the farmer? I mean, that's also people keep asking how much you earn. Of course, agriculture is tax-free income, but still, how much does he earn? The survey says it's something like this. The national average is only about 6,000 rupees this per month. This per month. So it's about 72,000 rupees. I must mention, Brother Goswami sir, in these states of Northeast, for example, Mizoram, it is 9,000 rupees. This is a national survey. And then Nagaland, 10,000 rupees. And Arunachal, 10,000 rupees. So it is higher national average. So can we look into this positive aspect and bring them more hope? In some, for example, it's about 6,695. And then as we go along, again, don't will not go into these details. But then point is cultivation, livestock, wage labor. Many of these things have been assessed because we are talking about sustainable and inclusive. So I brought some of these slides. And then again here now talked about the land holdings. Less than 0.01 hectare, or up to say more than 2 hectares. That's what it finally says is the scale of operations. So can we cluster the farms? That's another possibility. Clustering the farms. Now, 2014, the Honorable Prime Minister gave a call to the farmers' income. This was a call. So people have been working on it, how to go about, how more of integration, whatever we are doing, different farming activities. Can we diversify? Can we cluster? Can we cut the cost? Say from fertilizers, can we go nano fertilizers? I mean, is it a possibility? So in Northeast, sir, I must say, fertilizer, as you said, leapfrogging from landline to mobile phone. There is a chance. Directly go to nano fertilizers that we have. So could that be one recommendation? The transport costs will be much lesser, and that's why we are talking about smart farming, climate smart farming in every sense, weather smart, water smart, carbon smart, energy smart, and so on. Why I'm talking about water smart? Maybe tomorrow, Dr. V.S. Prakash and others will be speaking. Water smart. Friends, can you imagine how much water is required for producing 1 kilo of rice, 1 kilo of paddy? Just any guess. But 1 kilo of paddy, how much water is required? कितना पानी चाहिए? एक 1 kilo of rice. Any guess? Any guess? How many liters? How much? Yeah, 1,000. So you're almost there. In many places they say 10 liters, 50 liters, 100 liters, 600 liters. That is the minimum for 1 kg of paddy, not even rice, paddy. Because evaporation, seepage, all that kind of thing. So that is the cost. So we keep bringing up water budgeting, water footprints for each of the crops, whether it's beef or pork or whatever. Naturally it increases. So similarly, this was with regard to the national scenario, but when it comes to Northeast, I'm sure we need to discuss this. Tribal community, the communitarian values are much higher. Clustering is possible. In other places, too much of fragmentation, very difficult to discuss with the community practices and that respect. That as I said in the beginning, it's a different mindset, different. And can we capitalize on some of these to bring these aspects? So similarly, as was mentioned, the mega biodiversity, one of the 12 mega biodiversity centers here, and at least 50% of the total plant biodiversity. In the rice germ problem was mentioned. We are happy we are sustaining because the number of rice germplasm, just rice, can you imagine? We have more than 90,000 types in this country. White rice, yellow rice, brown rice, red rice in Kerala, even green rice in Sanskrit. But that's the variety we have. And in the northeast, at least 10,800 rice germplasm collected and characterized. And then similarly, maize, yolk. So no, you have to the primary resource state by state, because unfortunately, Goswami sir, what happens in Delhi whenever people discuss Northeast, they just look at it as a one homogeneous. So much of disparity between consider that Assam, for example, we have 70% depend on agriculture, 30% of GDP, 3 million hectares under cultivation. Total production is 300 plus million tons, and from Assam about 3 million tons, and horticulture 3 million tons. Now this is what we are good at. So now coming to another state, I won't go into this detail, but the point is Arunachal. Now why I'm putting up this slide is the basic socio-economic demographic profiles are different state to state. In Arunachal Pradesh, for example, population density is only 70 per square kilometer. In Manipur, it is 128. It is 10 times more. Similarly, when it goes to Meghalaya, it's still higher, 132. And then in Nagaland, 119. And then Sikkim, 86. This is mainly dependent on tourism. Now, Tripura is it, one end we have only 18, 17 per square kilometer. And in Tripura, for example, we have the population density as 350 per square kilometer. Now, that's why we should not generalize Northeast as a contiguous and a line. No, absolutely. And we see so much rain and we see so much of drought also. We tried oil palm cultivation in Mizoram and in Arunachal Pradesh. I'm sure my colleagues would be out in the Pasighat area. After October, we don't get water. I mean, these kinds of very distinct characteristics should be appreciated before we talk of a holistic development plan or a strategy for the Northeast. Again, not going to these details, the decadal growths, as we have been seeing, the decadal growth in different states, you kindly see Nagaland is only having a minus figure, but others are all in the 20s range. And again, rural urban population. In Tripura, for example, the rural population 27 lakhs. I mean, this shows again a kind of it is not a divide. I wouldn't call it a divide because so much of urbanization has not taken place. It is still to take place. But the point is, it holds. You can easily see something like whether it's crop or livestock and so on. 8% in Assam, for example, it will be little higher in different agri-related activities, agri, forest, and so on. We are looking at it. For example, in Nagaland, the mean area could be as much as, but in some other places, Mizoram it's 1 acre. Now, this distinction also has to be factored in when we give a recipe for development in the Northeast. When it comes to, here we also talked about the income, I already mentioned levels, it's slightly above. When it comes to farm income, it's about 7,000 rupees, 8,000 rupees, which is roughly you can say 1 lakh rupees per family, that is the farm income. Now, you kindly add from other sectors how much it could be enhanced, and that can be the way forward. Now, when it comes to the composite SDGs, now we are about 66 national, but they kindly look at the northeastern states, we are in some, it's much higher, 71, and the others are in the range. Now, these points of some plus points also could be highlighted when we make a strategy. These details, colleagues, and water are very different. Let's also appreciate this. Acidic soil start right from it's such a that's the natural endowment. So we need to appreciate that. And the food production trends, not going to details again. The compound in different commodities, it is about in the range of 1%, 1 to 3%. That means how much food, compound growth rate, triennial growth rates. Now that's where we talk of surpluses. That's where we are little worried. resources, so much farming interest going down, and food deficits across commodities and states. And when we talk to the plants, kindly enhance, enrich, encourage the local production, food production systems, and then you can just get there beyond that. Now, when we produce more, we at a loss. For example, pineapple, mandarin, the orange, all that we produce, but then we don't have an access, we don't have a link, we don't have processing, we lose there. In other commodities, we produce, so we get food. So on both fronts, we are in a kind of a situation where we can do a great deal more. And in this context, several varieties, several things that have been science and technology, being the fulcrum of this meet. Several things that have been, for local conditions, highly customized plant varieties that have been brought out. And again, not to go into details, what is the food share of the Northeast when compared to all India? When you look at the whole thing, averages, last 10 years, different states and all that. So it has been, Northeast has been at 1% of the total national food production. So this is where we are looking at issues like highly acidic soils, good for rice, but when it comes to others, there is an issue. Then nutrient deficiencies, and in some cases toxicities. Iron was mentioned, iron aluminum toxicity. Then, so these are some of the issues that we need to grapple with when we plan for cropping. Huge possibility for agroforestry. There is a type of cultivation here called shifting cultivation. For a few years they cultivate and then they shift. This again had become a problem. They call it a zoo. Brought out further. When it comes to horticulture, tree level, we produce a lot of food, lot of fruits and vegetables, about 340 million. Northeast, here the better. The Northeast share in horticulture, the food and fruits and vegetables, it's little more than it's about 1.5%. While in food grains, it's around 1%. So that's one point that we can capitalize on when it comes to, because this is specialty. So Northeast provides for that kind of a specialty culture unlike other states. Now, in special culture, what particularly large cardamom, there are specific, the turmeric is highly required spices in states. Pineapple, citrus, I mentioned. The king chili you must be very familiar with. Similarly, something that we should be cashing on and then make prices. And that's where we are worried. The culture of startups has not come, has not still, it needs to be nurtured. And Dr. Mishra sir, I have seen many engineering colleges, mostly engineering colleges, they are serving as incubators in the other part of the country. They are doing a great job in case of startups. And then horticulture, it will be vertical farming, and a lot of engineering inputs into this than just agriculture. And when it comes to livestock, very quickly, fortunately, there has been an increase. And many things, every time we say everything is going down, but in terms of Indian livestock, in the last few years, cattle nearly 20 crores, buffalo about 10 crore, goat about 13 crore. These are in millions. So I'm just mentioning. So there is a positive change when it comes to stock, and when it comes to Northeast, kindly see cattle. Again, it could be in the range of about 1%, 1.2%. When it comes to buffaloes, it's about just about 0.1%. That's the population. Because the dairy is not so much preferred as pig, but piggery is one thing that's very important. One quarter, 25% nearly of the total piggery of the country is naturally, and that's where we are looking at local breeds. And here I see a lot of good you must be seeing every day as you travel from your home to the university. These are something that we can be emphasizing on, and that's where we are talking about meat and milk production. For meat, the northeastern share is about 2.3%, and when it comes to milk, it's only 0.3%. Of course, naturally, it depends on the local preferences and demands. The facts. So where we can intervene, will be bringing up at some point that need to be discussed. Fish, is the prime region. We produce totally 16 million tons at the country level, a very high growth rate, 6 to 7, and about 2 lakh crores. That is the worth of fish in the country. When it comes to northeast percent, where the demand is easily 3 to 5%, and then that's where technology. What is lacking is the entrepreneurship. Now, Andhra fish, yes, Andhra fish is it goes to Dhaka, it goes to. Yes, immediately they say it's Andhra fish. Andhra fish, 2,000 kilometers, and with 3 changes of ice is coming to this place, and still Andhra farmers are making at least 8 to 10 rupees per kg of profit. Rupees per kg, in spite of all this transport and all that. So we have been harping on this local production, local seed production. Seed goes from Tripura to Calcutta, and then fish comes back. Table fish comes. Now, why not we have that enterprise? More and very quickly. Today, what we are, and this is the projection for 22 million tons. And in the same breath, now how can Northeast contribute to at least 5% of the production, not 1%? Every time organic farming is talked of, Northeast is taken as an example. But it is by default. In Sikkim, if you go, they don't apply fertilizer. It has been a practice. But that cannot be a natural farming. Natural farming has to be by default. Today, the point is we produce about 4 million tons of food. But in cities like Bangalore, and I'm sure Dr. would know, the software engineers would pay anything 200 rupees, 250 rupees kg of rice. Because we don't produce so much organic food. But in the name of organic food, people are just pumping anything. So these are some points that we are worried about. So when it comes to Northeast, what is documented is about 500 tons of food is coming from as organic in its form. That's authentic. But beyond that, people are selling more. Agri-tourism is another opportunity. And I'll show you some photographs even from Assam, where they have taken to agri-tourism. With great, with the tenfold youngsters, I keep requesting and then I keep talking to the youngsters, will you do some, let us see, sir, still, another 4 semesters are there, then we'll think, but now start thinking now itself, you can become entrepreneurs. Then, and that's where we need to provide platforms. Many people, are wanting to have the IPs. They want to go in for some kind of a IP, and then whether can we provide them? Well, in-house, we register, we apply for patents and all that. But what is not happening is the local farming community or the youth, rural youth, when they come up with some innovation, can we provide them a strong platform? That's the request. As was mentioned, post harvest losses in India today is anything like 1 lakh crore rupees worth. And when foreign delegates come in, they ask them, how can you afford to waste so much food in marriages, in hospitals, so on. But that's the way. 1/3 of the food that we produce is absolutely wasted in different forms. And that's why we are talking of secondary agriculture, processing possibility. And this is the next one with regard to the new technologies. A point was made that we are thirsty for new technologies. The farmers today, anything new that you give, they may not be, they may be turban clad, they may be having whatever, but they are thirsty. You give them viable technologies which can reduce the cost or enhance the profit. One of the two. So that's playing a big role. And this way we are now talking of this thing. Maybe Dr. Rao would speak greater details. Today, IoT in farming, the AI, deep learning, sensor robotics, these are already playing a role, at least in commercial crops. Where people are not so much, but then are grapes or that kind of crops, or capsicum. So these are all coming into play. So that's non-agricultural, special. Because you have a family background somewhere, so kindly join this bandwagon. There is nothing else. I'm sure you would agree with it. Culture. Best of cultures, agriculture. Do you agree? So the point is, no, again, these are some pictures, actual pictures on the field, and where, farmers take to new technologies. Maybe tomorrow we'll discuss weather advisory. They take to it. even it convinced about communicate and then convince. That's what is required, and that's where the friend esteemed colleague, we are talking of smart farming for small farmers, including the northeast. And in this direction, we also talk to the a huge possibility from because the society, Dr. Mishra sir, we are talking to society today because they think that Prakash Rao has been a senior in agriculture. The society, is there so much science in agriculture? Because my grandfather was also private. What are you doing? I mean, food is growing. So, but then we have taken so much pains to explain that there is real science in agriculture, and that's where, including the Prime Minister's panel, we had to make several presentations. He said, why STEM? STEM. Why not STEAM? So then finally, Professor Srinath Rao Sahab, they said, no, we should add STEM to, we should make it STEAM. So, but the point is, the society today, options for our boys or girls are engineer बनो या डॉक्टर बनो अगर कुछ नहीं बाद में देखेंगे nothing is discussed about agriculture in the household. But the point is so much possibility. You talk of any science, it is in agriculture. As much human health practices, that much are in animal health practices also. Whether it's IVF or embryo transfer, you have anything, it's all there in agriculture. I won't go into details. The point is, the STIP, the innovation policy is another opportunity for us, including the Northeast, sorry, including the Northeast and a few minutes only. Then the IPR policy is another thing, that bring as many people into this fold. And that's where, as I mentioned in the beginning, our Kisan buying and Sepulcha, knowledge, information. This is what we are talking of, the skill set that we need to impart. And this is where we are talking of the fastest growing. Let me tell you, after the after robots, is tech and new food. That's the fastest growing sector across the world when it comes to startup. In India today, as was documented at the time of Independence Day this year, about 75,000 startups are agri startups. So can we enhance them and give them a better, including, I'm not sure some Kaziranga University has an incubator, but it's worth considering an incubator because you're in a rural area and give them some, hands-on on crops, on the animals and so on, and some processing. It's possible. So this is where we are talking of lot of partnership. I want each of these. Let me tell you, satellite imageries for good farming. Each of these are getting applied, and then there are many startups I see in Bangalore, Hyderabad, Pune, and so on. They are making business proposals from these. And then this is where we are talking of ABIs, agri-business startups. And then I think somewhere a policy document, when we write, it should include this, because this is the fastest growing sector today. Like Niti Aayog or SFAC, everybody is giving emphasis on this. So in each state of North agri startups, maybe should have 100 startups. Can we start and that maybe Assam Agriculture University would join and say, Goswami sir, this is what I said. These are photos. This is from Assam. Mr. He was just having paddy farm, diversified, and tourists started coming there, and then it's became on Mr. Mandal. So similarly, whether it's different places, I won't go into detail, or it could be the goat farm or the goat farm. Can you imagine the goat milk? 300 rupees per liter. Our donkey milk also is old. I don't know whether you have read somewhere, but the goat milk 300 rupees per liter, and he produces 200 liters for 60,000 rupees. 60,000 rupees is my monthly salary. Whereas that man earns daily 60,000 rupees. So that kind of excitement is coming in. Let me tell you, it is the most sought after commodity. You meet any minister in the Northeast, in any state, first thing they say, "Aap kahan se aa rahe hain?" I say, so first give us piglets. I mean, that's the first question. Honorable Chief Minister, hey, give us piglet. So that being the case, this man, engineer, he has started pig farming, pig millet production where near Mysore in Gundlupet, and he has signed agreements with three states. for trying piglets from there. I mean, anyway, friends, the opportunities are so much. But then what we want is all that should happen here. All that should happen here, and you should send it. That's the interest. And in the next about 7 to 10 years, the smallholder farmers, 90%, and then food production has to come from them. There is no alternative. Well, let me tell you, country today trades rice. We had shortage of rice about 10 years back. Malaysia, Indonesia, Thailand, everybody refused to sell rice. The global surplus is only 30 million tons. And whereas today in India, we produce 105 million tons of rice and we consume all that. This is the largest market in the world for both. Nobody is going to sell food. They will sell arms, mobile phones, aeroplanes, everything, but not food. So that's where we want the Northeast to become a hub of farming activities. To kindly include this in the strategy document. Finally, a few things on higher education. NEP was mentioned when we are targeting 1,000 universities. All that is happening. So this is where we are talking about STEAM, all disciplines. Now that there is a chance for cross-discipline learning and so on, and we bring farming a core subject, possibilities, and this is where we are talking about all kinds of flexibility. And finally, just one snapshot of the agricultural education. 75 agriculture universities in the country, including the Assam Agriculture University in Jorhat, right here, and graduates. 1 lakh graduates in agriculture and postgraduate and so on, but they're still in demand. So that's how there's still a demand for government so far, and that's where we can have farming in in schools, in colleges, and so on. Well, I was surprised once when we went to a school. We went to a school in Hadi. You are a very strong agriculture for children in school level. And we do nothing. The farmers are doing everything. Then what they showed me was in at 8th standard onwards, they send students to different places nearby. And very interesting exercise. And they simply collect leaves, random, simply collecting leaves. And next week, we ask them to collect fruits. Next week, we ask them to collect the roots and so on. Then after 3 months, they ask them to match all the leaves and the seeds and the fruits and the. No, they said this is how we start tree, about what kind of tree it is, which seed belongs to which kind of creeper. Then after coming here, we prepared a few syllabi and gave it to the also a dose of a week, just 1 hour a week across the schools. They know where they belong to, what are their roots. So this is one thing that we are talking about. And this I mentioned in the beginning, the research intensity. All of us have to be serious on this. Finally, we think food and health is not department or the farmer or somebody. Absolutely, from seed to plate. It's everybody. If you save 100 grams of rice in the house today, it is 100 grams added to the food basket of the country. And that's where it's. And last two slides on with regard to Northeast agriculture. One is the green productivity in changing climate. Productivity enhancement in soil affected area, acidity affected areas. Conservation of natural resources, as was mentioned. Then seed supply chains. Absolutely. You go to Andhra Pradesh, you go to Maharashtra. Strong seed companies. That's what is sustaining agriculture. Now, this way is a very weak link that we have. And the post harvest, as I just mentioned, it is for organic farming. If a person near Bangalore can produce organic food, I don't know from how he can produce or how she can produce with so much of pollution around. Claim organic labels. Why not in Northeast? I mean, it can be a very, very strong hub. And the second, my request tomorrow is non-farm income. The farmers today are also depending on non-farm income. Their children go to garment factories, they go to some other jobs. Find out how much is that non-farm income, which we have not been able to capture very correctly till now. Now, comprehensive agriculture. Now, this is one thing that is attracting, retaining youth in agriculture. For example, digitalization was talked about. If only you give them a few gadgets, this is how you can manage agriculture, they come back to it. If it is not they will say no thanks to. They think that it's only drudgery in agriculture. Storage, water storage, internet farm mechanization, greater investments to policy level, because we hardly spend anything. We have been talking of 18% of GDP, but we have been asking for investment, capital formation. So, and then FPOs and agri startups kindly emphasize, and then there are no farmer producer organizations strong enough to list. Whereas in other states they have done well, and agri startups. And this is what I thought to mention at this stage. Thank you very much for your kind attention.
Thank you, sir, for your engagement. It was very intelligent, and the way you have designed it, and they are highly influenced by your data that you have provided perspective to the sector, what we call it, agriculture. So thank you once again. We would like to invite Dr. Sastry from NESID in order to come up with the keynote address. So after this.
Good evening, and what can we say? It's such a fantastic lecture by Professor. Surely, agriculture is everybody's business, and for sustainability and individual development, you can never ever ignore the importance of agriculture. With water, climate. So the big question is, should we have as in the peak? Because many of people are going jealous of them. So we will have a tea break. No, I am just. But the thing is, for logistic reasons, okay. So there is a danger that we will not have anybody after tea break, and the only person who is very much interested in any lecture is the person who speaks. So I should not lose my interest. Although it's an adventure to speak, so I will try to curtail it for okay. So be here only, otherwise I will be carrying a mic. So I just wanted to speak speak on the leadership culture and trust, which is, we try to touch upon what is required, what is necessary to unleash the power of the collaboration. Talk about the collaborative science for technology leaders. So there is a complexity which is increasing, and probably very similar slides yesterday I spoke for some time. And to save the time, I just wanted to say that there are some integrated core architecture systems for collaborative excellence. Mostly the mindsets, solution sets, skill sets, tool sets to every level of the organization. I just tell you about the collaborative excellence, tactile talk. And if you look at the collaborative industrialization for the nation's development in general and Northeast in particular, we all have to come together. We all have to see that there is a lot of value in co-creation. In trying to come together, something in a bigger way. The country has a rich legacy, capacity, and capability. The opportunities are we have an economically and politically stable system, which you have to agree compared to many other places. And the Azadi Ka Amrit 25 years, when we look back, so many things which are happening in a power. More importantly, last few years, last decade or so, stable economic. So this is a nation which is able to maintain very, very constant GDP growth, and we will definitely become a nation that matters to the world, a rich nation. But what are the things to make it more relevant to ourselves? And there are weaknesses or threats not worry about, because let's not care for them. I think that there is no time to think. The change is a much sought after word. Is a sought after word, but what is required is a metamorphosis. That there is a paradigm shift which is required or warranted. There is a famous Arya Mashelkar who talks about the world. Leapfrogging is important, but now what is required is a whole world. We should go beyond changes and transformations and then adopt what is. I just wanted to say that the culture impacts the outcome. While invisible, culture is like radio waves, pervasive. Culture tells people what is valued by leaders, what beliefs they should hold, and how people should interact, and what they should achieve and protect, how they will be rewarded or rewarded. I think culture is a factor, including personality, will determine the human behavior. Scientific culture is very important. The culture of innovation and entrepreneurship is very, very important. And the leadership is the most influential factor in determining the extrapolation human behavior. That's why collaborative leadership is so vital to performance. We all have to come together and then try to focus on collaborative leadership. The three basic forms of culture, leadership, and economics. There is a very nice observations that somebody talks about. What are adversarial, what are transactional, what are collaborative. The adversarial approach is always take advantage. Manipulation and distrust. The only game is win and lose. The dog eat dog type of an attitude. The survival of the fittest or might makes right. However, when you look at the transactional, it is everything is a deal. Is important. Quid pro quo, trade, buy low, sell high, almighty, self-interest, and then you somehow try to out of the deal. That's what comes in transactions. To make the best bet. Collaborate, teamwork and trust, synergy and align energy, work ethic, integrity, the differences, and also cherish the differences and accept it. More important is the co-creation of the value and the mutual benefit. There is no win, there's only a win-win. Never see that your winning depends on somebody losing. One has that type of a collaborative leadership or a collaborative ambience or a culture of that collaboration have a sustainable and we have a culture. Probably this is one of the lands where we still give importance to the culture. So it's extremely important to develop this culture, nurture this culture, and then try to protect that this goes in a right direction. I try to look at as another factor. We focus that leadership, culture, and trust. Enough talked about leadership. We try to talk about the trust. This trust, energized, aligned, supported, confident, safe, and this will be understood by people who are planning, people who are monitoring, and people who are executing. And we also have to look at the, let's not worry about this, but let's try to talk about how we have to have an, and we have to be safe, we have to be confident about our path, and we should more importantly develop a sense of, and support is important, alignment is important, and of course energy is important. When you align these energies, you go up to the trust ladders with teamwork and innovation. So there are very, very modern and treats the world of business, bring forth new possibility for the future of profit making, cite your evidence, give us expert advice. Things, several models are there, and many of them are modeled. We can try to speak a little bit about. No, I think this is a nice slide. Don't want to go through it. I just wanted to go through this model. We will have to go to a new lab. Mistakes leaders too often make is to model and entangle transactional and adversarial dynamics into a jumbled mass, mixing them helter-skelter into organizations, thus countermanding the essential requirement that complex organizations need to function collaboratively to produce the best result and create the greatest. So, explain in the next slide that when do you go to a completely new way of thinking and current plan out of the window. So when you have these best practices, the effort over the course, you keep on increasing the results and probably you reach a plateau with the current practice. And you probably have to increase and then you have to have a new norm and you'll have to go with the new plateau. And I just wanted to say that collaborative excellence is one of these paradigms. I will try to spend a few minutes on what is the paradigm. How do we know that we are ready for a paradigm shift? How do we go from stage, enough is enough, we have to go to a new theory? Probably in the beginning, things may be difficult. We have to realize that when great intentions yield mediocre results, tried and true best that we do, we push the accelerator in the same gear, it will not help. So you have to the engine has to be changed. Something has. When every attempt to fix things, then likely remains. The paradigm is ready to shift. Opportunity is present. Creative vision is called for. So when these things happen, probably you, as somebody says that when all the windows open your own window, or something like that. And bold action in new dimensions is the nature of things to come, while the old God will staunchly defend the past. Because learning is very, very important for development. But I think many times when the current paradigm does not work, what is more important and what is even more difficult is unlearn. We will have to understand what to unlearn, what on to, and what we should detach. These things are very, very important. So the old God will staunchly defend the past as entrenched investments and beliefs refuse to yield their hallowed ground. This is by Robert Lee. So the new era of change and speed and complexity, as Einstein has said that intelligence with which a problem is created will not be enough to solve that problem. You have to have a completely different new rule. As clock speed increases, paradigm and structures change. And when you look at the speed and complexity, they are going at one phase till there is a data explosion. This is linear and analytic. Slow time is, but in 90s, we have the computers have come, the data has come. So the population has reached 1 billion in 1800. It took 130 years to reach 2 billion. 24 to 2022, population has increased from 4 billion and it has sort of decreased. But if you look at the information, the data that is there, it took probably 1800 years, and now every 4.5 to 5 years, the information is getting doubled. So the information that is produced in the last 5 years is much higher than the data that is generated is much higher than the in the last 8,000 years, which is documented. So there are conditions which are highly unpredictable. There is a rapid change and paradoxical, there's turbulence, there's uncertainty, there's complexity, there's ambiguity, and there's anxiety. So the practices that we have used for the growth will not be applicable anymore. So there need to be requirement that earlier we have individual towers of excellence. We have one Einstein, one Newton, when the number of people are much smaller than a billion in the entire world. And also the percentage of people who have access to education is also very small. As we have been discussing, talking about how do we recognize the group activities. Teach is a completely new paradigm. That we have different laboratories like CSIR, DBT, ICAR, ISRO is there. If you take ISRO, probably the entire organization is working on one or two problems. If you take ICAR or DBT or ICM, a few dozens of problems. If you talk about CSIR, maybe it is talking about a few hundreds of problems. If you are talking about something like an IIT or a university, they are talking about few thousands of problems. Everything will have its own value, but sometimes we will have to have a clarity that when you ask a tough question, everybody knows that what is the contribution of this role, or what is the contribution of a particular activity where hundreds and thousands of people are working on a particular activity, like Chandrayaan or many other activities. And another thing is whether we are doing a useful research or a useless research, it's a different thing. I will come back to this, but I just wanted to talk about this explosion has come because of computers. Because earlier, when we were doing our studies, your ability or intelligence is measured whether you are able to remember the 20 by 20 table. Yes or no? There were no, only slate and some chalk will be there, and nothing will be there. So, be able to say 20 by 20 tables, 1790s, 1980s, like that, from top to bottom and bottom to top. Or you can recite some 100 slokas or something like that. This remembrance, and you ask a question and you get an answer. But now that is sort of not at all required. You have some funny instrument from your pocket and then it will do calculations, and Google is there, you don't have to remember anything. What can be delegated, what cannot be delegated, what be outsourced. So at that particular point of time, the power of a person is a muscle power. You know that if you want to engage in a fight, the muscle power will not be important. Either at a national level, even when you look at the defense, probably a country like Israel, which has such a minuscule population, much less than Assam population, a fraction of Assam population, is able to control 20%. So one has to realize that this computer, internet, information explosion, globalization has thrown challenges and opportunities at a scale which were difficult to comprehend with the at that particular point of time. So what is required is collaborative, trust, high trust, simultaneous, connected networks and alliances, and continuous innovation, adoption, breakthroughs, and non-linear approaches or non-linear way of thinking are important. Entrepreneurial problems, entrepreneurship problems, and other innovations are important. Are not just about, it's actually thinking differently, envisioning differently, discerning differently, measuring differently, designing differently, speaking differently, asking questions differently, treating people differently. So, for us to go to a different paradigm, what is more important is we have to invest on unlearn. And then it will be easy to learn the new concepts and adapt to that. For that, also some planning is required. And tell you that there are some very, very major projects out and executed. One of them is a human genome project, and I already talked about Chandra. Or if you want to look at the oil industry, tomorrow it's going to come, and then different ways. Whether you require a physicist or a chemist or a biologist or engineer, solve the problem. And I don't dare to speak about agriculture in front of Professor Ayyappan and all the other people. There are so many, and the biggest opportunity is artificial intelligence and machine learning, precision agriculture. I lived in Jerusalem for 2.5 years. When you go Tel Aviv down south, you have a desert produces the best of the best fruits. Cross the Suez Canal and go to Egypt, and the agroclimate can how drip irrigation now you will be able to deliver the nutrients and prices measured and planned for each plant, and the productivity can be one. So there is a lot of scope of different kinds, and there is science. There is a lot of science, and IFSA has aroma mission. I will tell you one more joke. The biggest joke is if you want to have a rose plant in Jorhat, you will see that it has to come from Indonesia, Thailand, or someplace to Calcutta. From Calcutta, it will go to Guwahati. From Guwahati, it will come. This is it. The floriculture, we depend on others. CSIR has started aroma mission, was successful because there is a lot of land which is not cultivable. There you can grass, and if it is a kauli and many other things. And there is an ashwagandha revolution that is. So in agriculture, you are thinking that only kheti, rice, put tea, and we will have only tea and rice. But so many other things can be done. So there are lots of scope in different ways of utilizing our land, which can be cultivated for different purposes. If you cannot cultivate other things, where you grow only grass, you can grow lemon grass. You can grow sectionally. And being done, and in Northeast alone, we contributed to the cultivation of more than 20 hectares for sectional and lemon grass and other medicinal. So this is what I am trying to talk about. Primarily led by CMAP, the aroma mission, and we have other labs, which are IIM, IHBT, these and NBRI. What we are doing now is we have put 15 multi-locational trials in the 8 states of the north, where about 31 plants are being experimentally tested to see that what agroclimatic conditions are suitable for their growth. Lots of experiments, and we can also look at the different approaches of plant breeding, tissue culture, CRISPR-Cas, genome editing. Lots of science is there, and skill initiatives it is coming up that yes, there are lots of opportunities, and there is a lot of scope for if anyone wants to start something. This is a really, really good place. Whether it is in terms of bioeconomy, whether in terms of because we have same problems. One of the problems from a climatic and other things is the landslide. And as our previous speakers also said that we have a lot of requirement for water. In the same area, in the same year, we have a problem of flooding as well as drought. In Assam. We say that 1 month in August, everything flooding is there. But in November, there is drought. It is immediately impacting the tea industry. So like that, they were there, and then the fisheries, and we also have the opportunity of 2G ethanol. And more important is the mineral diversity that is the landslides and disaster management. And the coal, northeastern coal, is considered as in terms of the calorific value. And you cannot really use it for conventional purposes. But it has a high sulfur content. Valorization is easy. And you will be able to convert this into different types of carbonaceous materials. And I'm so happy that CSIR NESID was blessed with a Bhatnagar Prize for the first time in Assam last year by Vinay Saikya. And he was present. And he was working on the Northeast try to convert to carbon content. And there is still a lot of scope there. And if you are interested, there is a lot of scope in making fundamental contributions. The infectious diseases have given a call, and India is not able to produce any ventilators. Now we are able to produce ventilators which are sufficient. And when there is a crisis for oxygen, people have come to a stage where we are self-sufficient in oxygen. But more importantly, we are able to see clearly what are the differences that we have, what are the deficiencies that we have. The API, we are too much depending on China. The government is now taking a plan to see that how do we make plans to make us self-sufficient. So go vocal for local, vocal for local. This thing is there. And I feel that what is required for Northeast is, as we have been saying, the science and fundamental science is universal, but innovations can be any. The mantra that several of us will share that we have to localize the global technologies. Wherever technology is there, we will have to localize. But we always have to understand the local strength that we have is the wisdom, traditional wisdom. We should be able to globalize the local wisdom, whether it's a fermentation technology. Somebody is talking about the very things like mushrooms or edible insects. So many things which are very much unique. Crafts. There's so many things which are very, very specific to Northeast, and we will have to utilize the digital marketing. We will have to utilize the most technologies that are available, and I feel that if you want to go for industrialization, we have to imbibe Industry 4.0. Very importantly, go to Industry 5.0. For that, artificial intelligence and so has started this data science, and people are doing very well. And I myself come from background, machine learning, AI field that we work on, and the key is IoT. Internet of Things cannot be ignored in any field, and development of, and it's extremely important for us to inculcate the culture of developing our own technologies. It is very frustrating to see this Elon Musk and Twitter, WhatsApp. Only Indians are using the tech. If you go to Russia, they don't use this WhatsApp. They have their own technology. They don't use the GPS. So it's time for that we should have the alternative ways of developing technology. But why the whole world is going in one direction, but each after this, either Facebook or Twitter, if something happens, many of the advanced countries, Japan, nothing will happen. Russia, nothing will happen. So it's extremely the Atmanirbhar Bharat and the key is entrepreneurs. And you have to measure what matters and which will make a difference for our reach. Some need not depend on other things for their success. And on the other hand, we will have solutions for the world problems. Thank you very much. So, if anybody has energy to ask questions at this particular point of time, they can ask. Of the organizers.
Thank you so much, sir, for capturing our inaugural session so perfectly. We are sincerely great presence in our event. Is there any you would like to ask from the audience side?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Ladies and gentlemen, we now call upon stage Dr. Verma, Professor of from the School of to offer her vote of thanks. Ma'am.
Thank you. Good evening, one and all present here. I feel honored and privileged to get the opportunity to propose vote of thanks on this special. On behalf of Assam Kaziranga University, convey deep regards and hearty thanks to our Honorable Vice Chancellor Sir Dr. P.K. Mishra. Words are not enough to thank his constant support, guidance to shape the program. Thank you. Dr. Prashanta Goswami, Chairman, National Organizing Committee and Chairman IFSA. On behalf of Kaziranga, I express our deep gratitude to you, sir. Thank you, sir, for always supporting and inspiring us in all our endeavors. Our guest of honor, Dr. G.N. Sastry, Director CSI, Dr. Shastri's contribution to design, chemoinformatics disciplines is parallel to none. A scientist of such excellence amazing and constant inspiration here. On behalf of the family, I express our deep gratitude to you, sir. Professor Mohan Kumar, Vice Chancellor, Arunachal Universities of Studies, an immense experience with an established account of working in the higher education industry, skilled in agroforestry, silviculture, sustainability, data analysis. On behalf of Kaziranga University family, I record our deep sense of our chief guest, Professor S. Ayappan, former DG and ICA. Ayappan's contribution to the growth and intensification of the aquaculture production is tremendous. He was an instrumental in evolution in India. On behalf of Kaziranga University family, I express our sincere thanks to you, sir. I am very much thankful to all the honorable delegates, respected speakers, who blessed us with their presence. An event of this dimension cannot happen overnight. The wheels start rolling months in advance. We have been fortunate enough to back the dedicated and motivated faculty, students, and volunteers. Everyone enough for this involvement. They have shown and the willingness, they have the responsibilities on beyond their comfort zone. Organizers of this event for organizing such a huge event. We sincerely appreciate all your time, hard work, and effort. Thank you. I'm very much thankful to our sponsors. If time is a today, you have spent millions for us. Thank you once again, all of you. A great success. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for offering your vote of thanks.
Gratitude is not only the greatest of virtues, but the parent of all the others. On this note, let's conclude this remarkable, memorable, and knowledgeable inaugural session of NESID 2022.
On behalf of the University and Institute of Frontier Science and Application, we sincerely thank for being with us in this beautiful and enlightening us with their remark. We share our heartfelt gratitude to the organizer of the family for their wholehearted in the success of this inaugural session. Thank you all. We have arranged a tea break, so you may proceed to the we.
Members of the the dignitaries and invited speakers for this high tea. Just near to the entry of this, ladies and gentlemen, also get ready to hold your breath. Soon after, this